Good morning. This lesson is for my Trig-Precalc class, but before I get started, I want to say I hope that everyone's doing all right out there. I'm not sure how I'm going to title this, but I'm going to title it how I title the title. But what I am sure of is our one goal for the day. And our first goal is going to be to draw quadratics. And in order to do this, we will start by multiplying binomials. We will notice a pattern and use that observation to draw a quadratic. So here we're going to multiply using a picture, and then we're going to notice something about the result, and from there hopefully we can get to a point where we can then reverse engineer our observation and draw quadratics. So let me go ahead and just jump right in and start. So the first binomials I'd like to multiply is x plus 4 by x plus 3. So I'm going to draw my x, which is a random length, and then I'll have 4 ones. So this is my x plus 4. And down this side, I'm going to draw my x plus 3. So there's my random length for x, and then my 3 ones. And again, it's really easy to multiply using this. We just extend and count. So I'll extend this down, I'll extend this over, and we'll just keep extending. Don't worry about your lines not being perfectly straight. Just make sure that the x's are longer than the ones. That's all that matters. All right, so here's what we have. I have an x and an x, that gets me x squared. I have an x and a 1, that gives me an x. I have an x and a 1, that gives me x. And by the way, these are multiplying. I have an x and another 1, that gives me an x. And I have an x and another 1, that gives me x. I have a 1 and an x, that gives me x. A 1 and an x, that gets me an x, a 1 and an x, that gets me x, and I have a bunch of 1 times 1s. So I'm just going to fill this in. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So here I have now 1x squared, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 x's, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 12 little ones. Okay, so that's multiplying the first example. Let me multiply the next example. X plus 2 by x plus 6. Well, there's my length of x, there's my 1, and then there's my 2. So this is my x plus 2, and I'll draw my x plus 6 down here. Well, there's my length of x, there's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, we just extend. Just extend. Extend and count. And hopefully you're recognizing that the large squares are the x squareds, the rectangles are the x's, and the small squares are the 1s. So this would be an x squared, these would be x's, this would be a bunch of x's, and then all these guys would be my 1s. Alright, so here I have 1x squared, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 x's, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I have 12 little squares. Alright, one more. One more I need to multiply. I want to multiply x plus 1 by x plus 12. So here's my x, here's my 1, and let's go to plus 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's extend this out. All right, for this one I have x squared. Oh, let me fill this in. This must be exciting to watch. Alright. So I got 1x squared. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 13 x's. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 ones. Okay. So I multiplied all these binomials. We do have something in common between all of them. And what's common is this number, this number, and this number. They all have the same amount of little square numbers. And before I continue, I want to see how much space I have on the right side here. Okay. They all have the same amount of little square numbers. Okay, and that's going to be the observation we need to make. Right, so I got 12 for my little square, 12 for my little square, 12 for my little square. And so what we're going to have to understand is what little rectangles can we make from our little square numbers. And that's going to be very helpful in us drawing the pictures of the quadratic. So we need to understand what rectangles So here, my little square numbers are 12, and I got 12 little squares because I had a dimension of a 1 by 12. Here I have my 12 little squares, but I have my little dimension as a 2 by 6. And here I got my 12 little squares, but I have the dimension of a 4 by 3. So hopefully you're recognizing something about this 4 by 3 and this 7, and this 2 by 6 and this 8, and this 1 by 12 and this 13. Because if you recognize what rectangle you can make out of your little square, then you can make your drawing of your quadratic. Now I want to point out one more thing before I hit pause and erase all this. In all of these pictures that I drew, x squared is in the top left. To the right and to the bottom are our rectangular x's. To the right and to the bottom are our rectangular x's. To the right and to the bottom are our rectangular x's. And at the bottom right corner of our x squared, we have our little squares. The bottom right corner of our x squared, we have our little squares. And the bottom right corner of our little square, of our x squared, we have our little squares. And I'm mentioning that because when we go to draw our quadratics, we need to place the rectangle of the little square at the bottom right of our x squared. So I'm going to go ahead and hit pause, clean this all up, and move on to our ultimate goal, which is drawing quadratics. So again, we needed to make an observation about that, and let me clean this up and I'll be back. I'm back, so let's go ahead and continue with this goal. And let me just remind you what I pointed out in the previous part of this video. Remember, when we're going to draw this, top left goes x squared, and off the bottom right corners we draw our little rectangle using our tiny squares. So we need to figure out what little square rectangle makes the b value in ax squared plus bx plus c. This is what all these are written as. Okay. So first we need to know what rectangles can we make with 8 little squares. And basically, is what numbers multiply to 8. That's what this is getting to. What numbers multiply to 8. That's the rectangle. only two ways I multiply to 8. 1 by 8 or 2 by 4. And so the next question we have to answer is which has dimensions that add to 6? Well, 1 and 8 add to 9. We don't need a 9, we need a 6. 2 and 4, that adds to 6. So we're going to need to add a rectangle that has 2 rows and 4 columns of little squares, or 4 rows and 2 columns of little squares that sits off the bottom right corner of our large square. So we're going to get something that looks like this. Oh, this is 2 by 4. So we're going to get our large square, our x squared, and we're going to go 2 by 4 off that. So there's 2. One less line will make how many we need. So I need 3 going this way to draw a 4. So there's my 2 by 4. And now I just extend this up. And I will have drawn my quadratic, which is x squared plus my 6 x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is how I draw that quadratic. Okay. Again, let's do another example. First, we need to know what rectangles we can make with 24 little squares, or what numbers multiply to 24. Well, just go in order. We got 1 times 24. I need 11. Nope. 2 times 12. I need 11. Nope. 3 times 8. That's what I need. There's another one, but I stop when I get what I need. So we need a 3 by 8 little rectangle, and then we can extend the sides up to draw a quadratic. So again, it's going to be a 3 by 8. So I'm going to draw my x squared, and off the bottom right corner, I'm going to draw my 3 by 8. It could have been drawn rotated. So since I need 3 little squares, I'm going to draw 2 lines to get my 3. And I need to draw 7 horizontally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so now I'm just going to extend this up. And I should have picked smaller values. That would have made this a little bit easier. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm missing a row. Let me learn how to count. One day I'll learn how to count. One day I'll learn how to count. There's my 8. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11. There's my 11 x's. And in here I'm going to have 24 little squares. So I've drawn a picture that represents the quadratic of x squared plus 11x plus 24. All right, let's do one more. Again, I need to know what rectangles we can make with 4 little squares. And again, it's what numbers multiply to 4. It's 1 by 4, which adds to 5. I don't even need the 2 by 2. All right, so now I know the dimensions of my little squares that go off the bottom right corner of my x squared square. So I have my x squared, and I'm going to put a 1 by 4 off the bottom of it. 1, 2, 3, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to draw a line up, extend, 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 extend. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 5 x's and my 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've represented this quadratic as a picture. Now, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? The answer to this question is really important. We're drawing these so we can find the side widths. Now, I know there's other ways to factor, and that's what finding the side lengths are. But I'm taking this approach, a visual approach, of representing quadratics as shapes, because ultimately we're going to have to manipulate these rectangles to make them into a very specific shape. And we're going to use that concept to solve equations, quadratic equations. All right, so let's figure this out. So this has a length of x, right? Because x and x make x squared. And this has a length of 1, so this side length would be x plus 1. And this side length, 1, 1, 1, and 1. This side length would be x plus 4. So I just factored this quadratic by drawing it as a picture. This quadratic has a side length of x and a 1 and a 1. So this has a side length of x plus 3. Well, this is x and there's a 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And so this is going to be a length of x plus 8. So these are the factors of my quadratic. And finally, I have an x and a 1 and a 1, and an x and a 1, 1, 1, and 1. So this is going to be an x plus 2 length, and this is going to be an x plus 4. And these are the factors to that quadratic. So if I was to multiply these out, I will get that quadratic. So I believe I checked my goal off, drawing quadratics, but these quadratics have something in common. All the values are positive. So the next lesson is going to be how do we deal with, how do we draw quadratics when we have negatives involved. So hopefully this helps you understand how to draw quadratics and why we're drawing these, because we need to find the side lengths, which are the factors, and that's ultimately going to be the roots of the zero of a quadratic function. So I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Again, I hope everyone is doing all right out there. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.